that's something that soaks in your soul, man.
Without a doubt.
You know what I mean? I guess there's no way to really explain it because it's not that you heal from anything. I don't even know if there's a healing process in that because it's an experience. And there was trauma because the way the doctor reacted towards it, you know? So then all of a sudden you
Evening,
go
everybody. Welcome
Hi.
to the show. Stop. Dude, it's been 2 weeks. Stop touching me.
God. Damn it, Ron. What's wrong with you? A little violent tonight, aren't you, Filipio?
Trying to wrangle you, man.
Trying to wrangle the meatball. Come on, let's go.
All right, guys. Share the show. We've got Dr. Scott Taylor on with us tonight, host of the Afterlife Files on Odyssey Radio. Fantastic guest. We're going to talk about shared NDEs, regular near-death experiences. He's an expert.
I think he's going to get a lot more people listening to him tonight.
I think so. I think so. I think so.
Look, Audrey decided to join us, Filipio.
Hello, Audrey.
Hi, Audrey.
Welcome to the show. All right, here we go. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. Stick with us.
Where are we going?
Hey, man.
Ron?
The best price on your next flight, guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Journey into the matrix of the mind. Stretch your imagination and challenge reality. Abnormal realities are beacons for the imagination. What society deems abnormal may be more real than we think. This is Abnormal Realities with your hosts, Ron Phillips and Rocky Stucci.
Why are you looking so... Oh.
Hello, folks. Welcome to this Thursday night edition of Abnormal Realities.
He was waiting for the cue.
I was holding off, too. It was painful. It felt like 15 seconds, and it was only like 4, but it hurt. What's up, kids?
Hey, man.
What's going on?
Welcome back.
Dude, welcome.
We've been gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah, something's weird about my chair. Some weird stuff's going on in the studio when I'm not here.
What's wrong with your chair?
I don't know. There's a weird bump.
There's no bump in your chair, dude. There really isn't.
What?
The chair hasn't been touched since you touched it
Oh,
last.
it's not the chair.
You're a goober. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Thursday night, we've got a fantastic guest tonight.
The show where Rocky was called a goober.
A goober. That was 2 shows ago as well.
True.
But so we're honored tonight to have one of our very own Odyssey Radio show hosts on with us tonight, Dr. Scott Taylor. He is the host of the Afterlife Files, and I think that's at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday nights on Odyssey Radio. Dr. Taylor talks about his own personal shared NDE, as well as the lessons learned from the millions of NDErs out there and how they can be learned and incorporated into our lives in the physical. These lessons change people's perspectives and allow them to realize more fulfilled lives. So this is going to be an intriguing show based on what we were talking about.
Oh, we had an intrigue. We had a show before a show.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had a show before a show. So everybody, please join us in welcoming Dr. Scott Taylor. Dr. Scott, how are you?
I'm awesome, Ron. And Rocky, nice to see you. And I have really been looking forward to being on Abnormal Reality.
You were, well, we missed you the last time. I think you were kind of in between flights or something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right. We were supposed to be on, and my flight was delayed 6 hours, and I was in the air when I was supposed to be talking to you. And that's always a bad plan.
Hey, really quick, Scott, Ron was giving me a hard time when I first showed up about my shirt. I mean, I think my shirt's appropriate for the show, don't you?
Absolutely.
See,
Sorry, Ron.
there you go, bro.
I don't recall saying a word about your shirt.
Well, I heard it, so it don't matter.
Goodness.
Whatever.
Now,
It
this
never
comes
fails.
from a guy who was 20 years in retail. So, I worked in the department store business
It's a
for
good
a long
looking
time.
shirt. Yeah.
You are absolutely styling, man. And, it's untucked. You're off.
What was it that we were told you were? A super reptilian? What?
No, a god. I was told I was a god.
No, but there was something else. I can't remember.
It was something reptilian.
It's super.
Something.
Yeah. One of our show hosts filled his head up with air, and so he's been floating around for
A little
the last
bit,
few
you know. I
months.
mean, when you're compared to like Hercules, you change a little
Oh,
bit.
my
It changes the
gosh.
way you live, you know. All right, I got a question, and we're going to jump right in because
Go for it.
Scott, I know, brother, that you are the type of man that we can sit. Yeah, I would love to be around a campfire on a nice fall night
no
up north.
joke.
You know, crispy leaves in the air. You can hear them crunch on the ground, and a good cigar in hand, maybe a glass of scotch or apple juice, whatever. And just talking about life and talking about the universe and talking about thought and consciousness and, you know, just everything. Information, because information existed before man. And it's just like, so the biggest question I think what a lot of people have is, where is our soul?
Oh, that's a good one. And for that, I should really go over here and get my glass of scotch. I'm a particular fan of Ardbeg 10-year, which is really peaty, smoky. So around a campfire, it's perfect.
Nice.
When we talk about where is the soul, well, it's really interesting because before, you know, when all of this stuff about near-death experiences started to come out, people really weren't sure about, you know, was consciousness, did it reside within the brain or doesn't it reside within the brain? And we now know the answer. And the answer is no. Consciousness is not a function of the brain. Consciousness resides within our non-physical body, which temporarily inhabits our physical body. And then when our physical body dies, you know, it leaves and goes off into the non-physical universe. So there, this science has been settled now for about 20 years. And, you know, the medical community is still catching up. But our soul exists in the non-physical body, and we existed before we had physical body, and we will exist after this physical body goes away.
You know,
so
we talked about this on one of the recent shows when we talk about, because we do a lot of work in the field itself. We would go to different locations and try to respectfully try to do any kind of research that we can try to call legitimate as we can, right?
Yep.
The question is that I've had experiences to where I have felt feet like cowboy boots walk up to me on a wooden floor and walk away. And it's been a phenomenon in this house since this lady, I worked for like 5 decades, legitimately. It kind of messes with you a little bit, but you know, so there's something within our realm to where there's some kind of a weight that's created to create that footstep. And then we talk maybe poltergeist event. So the discussion is where is that other side? Is it in a parallel, or is it still within our universe, just beyond reach? I don't know how to present it the way I think about it. Where is the paranormal? Because they can interact with us. They can see us. They can communicate with us. They can talk with us, but we can't with them. So are they in still our parallel?
Oh, so I'd like to correct you just a hair
Yes.
there. We can indeed talk to them and perceive them. It just takes special training, and mostly that's about how do we raise our vibratory level, because you know this physical body is designed to vibrate here in the physical universe. But you know, if we can raise up our non-physical body, raise that vibratory level, that means that we can then match what is on the other side. And then we can, you know, have conversations, we can perceive them. I mean, that's the role of mediumship. That's where, you know, like remote viewing comes from. I mean, I believe it's a function of how fast our vibratory level is, and can we learn to, you know, raise it up.
The higher we can get it, the more healing it actually has to the physical and the spirit of your body and your mind and your soul. I was trained to go into a theta state to manifest and to do whatever work in a theta state.
Yep.
That's a very real thing. And a lot of people kind of give me a hard time in a fun way because I take baths all the time. And I don't take a bath to take a bath. I'm putting salts and I'm putting these
Lighting
different
candles?
kinds of,
Are you lighting candles?
I light
Yeah.
candles like like a dragon's blood, a frankincense candle. And then I put on this tone, which is a super high frequency. And then I go into a complete meditative state in a bath. So I'm soaking in salt with that candle, which is producing the aroma in the air, which is calming. And then I go into meditative state, do my chakras, and I go for a journey. I go for an adventure.
If we could all go for an adventure in the bath.
That's too much information for me.
Yeah, you did just now. You're not supposed to do that when we have guests. What's the matter with you?
Sorry, I mean, that's what you just said, though.
I'll call HR, Scott. I'll call HR and I'll report this in the
We
morning.
did, thank you. Yeah. I feel better about that now that you got that handled.
So, Scott, so near-death experiences, though? When people talk about near-death experiences, sometimes, because we've had many people on the show that and they're all a little bit different, but somewhat the same. Yeah. Is a near-death experience what happens when you die normally, or am I understanding it correctly?
It can be, but okay. So there's a thing called near-death experiences, and there's now a thing called shared death experiences, and so this is Scott Taylor's take. So near-death experiences happen when, say, our physical body has been so traumatized that it dies. Our non-physical body then leaves and goes out and explores and has an adventure in the non-physical world. Then those of us in the physical world, we do our resuscitation efforts, and poof, the body reanimates, the soul comes back in, and you have a near-death experience. So by definition, it's not what happens when you physically die, because in the process, there is always the return. And so that's been the question for 50 years is that what happens when what really happens when you die? Well, along comes William Peters. He writes this wonderful book called At Heaven's Door, and he interviews 800 people who have had shared death experiences. This is a different thing. This is what happened to me. So I'm bedside, and there's the son of my girlfriend who was in a terrible car accident. Is making his final transition, and when he leaves his body for the last time, he invites me to join him, and we go to the light, and I can tell you the rest of that story in a little bit. But to get back to that question, people who've had shared death experiences, meaning there's no physical trauma. I'm in the hospital room. I'm sitting on a windowsill, and I am now accompanying Nolan into the light and with him as he goes through his final transition. And I get to experience what he experiences. That is a real definition of what happens when you die. And it's really told well by people who've had shared death experiences. Okay, bring the two together. The truth is that the common elements that are in near-death experiences are the same as in shared death experiences. The after effects are the same in near-death experiences as in shared death experiences. So there are some slight differences in terms of what people experience when they have a shared versus an NDE, but for the vast majority, they're parallel. They're exactly the same. So those of you that have been reading, reading stories or listening to stories about near-death experiences can rely on what they say in terms of what happened to them as being what would happen to me if I was to, or when I make my final transition.
So when you were speaking on that, for some reason, I was thinking about like a remote view astral projection style. Now, you're talking of shared death experience where you were able to experience a transition, which I can visualize that to be the most incredibly beautiful thing in the planet, right? And
Yes.
hopefully we can get to that. For some reason, whenever you bring that up the last couple of times, I can feel you. I can feel it in my chest. But what was I saying?
No salt and incense required.
No salt and incense required. I can't remember what the buildup was on that, though. What is the difference? Because I don't know exactly, like if I go into, let's just say, an astral realm, or I'm going to an astral flight,
Right.
or if I go into a remote view. Now, to me, my soul, I mean, I don't know about my soul, but my something's leaving my body and traveling somewhere within the matrix, right?
Yep.
So what's the difference between that travel and, let's say, transition from life physical to life spiritual?
There may not be any difference. That thing that leaves our physical body
Yep.
and travels around, that's the same thing that leaves and goes into the non-physical universe, into that area that we call that life between lives.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
it makes sense.
it's-
It makes sense because
same thing.
right, because you are leaving your body and you're able to. And that was another thing too. You know, how many experiences have I had in the years I've been in paranormal? Did I think somebody was an actual ghost where there was a very significant experience? Could it possibly have been somebody who's doing a remote view?
That's interesting.
Well, because that question's been posed before on the show. So
Yeah, I could see how that could be the case.
There was
I
a
know
s-
that when we teach at the Monroe Institute, we have classes on astral travel or out of body experiences. That's the term that Bob Monroe liked. And what we will do is create a meeting place. So at the Monroe Institute, there's this really large crystal that's out in a pasture. And so you said, we're going to go to the crystal, we're going to meet up there, and then we're going to go do X, Y, and Z. And it happens all the time that people go to the crystal and they're able to go, oh, there's Fred and Mary and Sally and
Wow.
Saul. And, they're able to identify the other people who are in the group. They recognize either their appearance or their energy signature. And then, the 4, 5, 6, however many there are, go off and do X, Y, and Z. So it could,
That's
see
wild.
that if you were
That's
thinking
wild.
it was a ghost, maybe it was somebody doing an astral projection.
Well, because I remember when I was reading a bunch of reports that were studies done by the CIA, and there was people that were in the CIA that were high level people that were apparently like masters of astral projection, right?
Right.
Their accuracy was impeccable, and
Yep.
they said that there were times where they were spotted, and I didn't understand because it really didn't elaborate because these were reports, so it's not like it was a story or I wasn't reading a book. But I wish there was more elaborate detail in regards to what do you mean you thought you were spotted? Did they see your shadow? Did they see an orb? Did they see you? What did they see? I got questions. You know what I mean?
I got questions. Well, I have to tell you that it's one of the things when people start working in this arena, they have to get used to, and that is that there might be this energy blob. And I mean, there's no defining characteristics. It's not Scott Taylor in a red shirt and he's got blue glasses and yada, yada. But there's an energy signature that's associated with that. And I know all of you know what that means. You're in a room and somebody walks in behind you and you go, oh, well, that's Grandpa Paul. And, you turn around and it's Grandpa Paul. There's just an energy about the room that we've heard about politicians. Bill Clinton was one that when he entered a room, it's like his aura entered the room before he did.
Yep, correct.
And people could feel it because it was just that strong and that clear. So
Maybe there's some reptilian stuff going on or something, you know? Maybe he was given some reptilian power or something. I guarantee you there's
It's
a
Bill
conspiracy
Clinton, of
group
course
out
it
there
is.
somewhere that will say that it's definitely reptilian. There's somebody out there that has the facts. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Oh, I love that field. Oh, they are so entertaining.
So, Scott, are you the current president of the Expanded Awareness Institute?
I am.
You want to tell us about EAI real quick?
EAI.
Sure. So, Expanded Awareness Institute, we're all about exploring near-death experiences, shared death experiences, and all things afterlife. And we have guided meditations, like the albums that are behind me, that help people to enter into and hold expanded states of awareness in those states that are associated with near-death experiences. Like, we know that when we lift out of our body, there's usually an escort there that will take us to the light. That's one vibration. And we go through a tunnel. That's another vibration. And when we exit the tunnel, we enter into one of 3 different kinds of light. Each one of those has their own vibration. There's a reunion with the dead relatives. That's a vibratory. Life review, that area of life between lives, the Akashic records, all of them have a slightly different vibration, vibratory state. And so that's what we teach people.
Hey, Scott, I got a question.
How to do that.
On the life review part, do we have the option on, to opt out of that phase? Because I'm good. I kind of remember everything I've done. I'll be like, can I just pass on this one?
Actually, when you get to that part, you are accompanied by a divine being, and you can negotiate with this divine being any way you want.
Ooh, I don't know if that's good.
No, it's very good, because their whole mission in life is to love you through that experience. And it's, I have to tell you, from the people who have experienced it, it's the most profound aspect of a near-death experience, is that ability to relive your life from your perspective, relive your life from the other person that's in the scene, and to relive your life from that omniscient perspective, God's perspective, as you will, so you can see how that role that you played affected other people. Now, what we know is that when we come into this world, we often take on roles, that we're assigned different roles on purpose. And so maybe your role is to be Judas Iscariot. Jesus can't be Jesus without Judas Iscariot. Somebody had to turn him in. And so if you did it perfectly, normally you'd say, wow, what a jerk. But that's what it took. It took that role to have Jesus become what he became. And the same thing in our lives. Maybe our role was to be a jerk at one particular time, because that propelled somebody else into a worldview, some sort of action that made them wonderful. So by being a jerk, you did it perfectly, and you get extra stars in heaven because of it.
Justified. It's all
that.
justified.
Yeah.
Sorry, babe. The spirit told
Until
me to do it.
maybe you just were a plain old jerk, and then then you have to atone.
That too.
So,
Good.
Scott, we're up on our bottom of the hour break. Do you have time to stick around with us?
Oh, I certainly do.
Oh, fantastic. We'd love to have you after the break. And I've got a question back on the shared death experience that I thought about, because if you said it, I missed it. But when we get back from the break, we'll hit you up on that one. Tonight,
right,
we've got Dr. Scott Taylor with us.
Go ahead, Scott, real quick.
He is the host of the Afterlife Files. Go ahead.
When I come back, I want to finish that last little bit about our life review, because there's something that is so cool that we haven't touched on yet.
Perfect.
I love it. A
Bada
tease.
boom.
They call that a tease.
A tease, yes.
That's right. Well, okay. I'll call it a hook.
All right.
All right, folks.
Stay
Hey,
with us, Dr. Scott.
man, we love you guys. My sister Paula's here. What's going on? Paula
Hey,
Stucci.
Paula.
What's happening? I've seen a lot of really cool questions in the chat room. It's just, there's not ever really in these kind of conversations a good spot to jump in to break the flow of what's already being talked about.
Maybe we can do that here in the last 10 minutes or so of the show, just to kind of make sure we're covering at least whatever aspects you want us to cover. But Dr. Scott Taylor's with us tonight. He is an NDE expert, and
you ever think about this? You're like, hey, I really wish I could experience an NDE, but you know what? You got to die to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Joke,
It's a big freaking bucket list thing.
OdysyRadio.com. Odyssey Radio, that's where you can find Dr. Scott's show. AbnormalRealities.com, that's where you can find our stuff. We'll be back after the break. 2 minutes, guys. Stick around.
A double love.
At Romika Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logo designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Romika Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at romikadesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and we'd be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@romikadesigns.com, or visit us on the web at romikadesigns.com.
Do you have fewer than 3 bowel movements a week? Are your stools dry, hard, and or lumpy? Your stools are difficult or painful to pass? Do you have stomach aches and maybe stomach cramps? Do you feel bloated and nauseous? Do you feel that you haven't completely emptied your bowels after a movement? Well, if that's the case, then the chances are pretty good you are dehydrated. So what you need to do is go to www.insanecustomtumblers.com. We have hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of images that you can purchase for your personalized tumbler today. If you're looking for a custom design, we can help you with that. Insane Custom Tumblers is the one-stop shop for you. Once again, go to insanecustomtumblers.com. Again, that is insanecustomtumblers.com. Use code INSANE20 for a 20% discount today. InsaneCustomTumblers.com. Hoop well, my friends. Hoop well.
Welcome back to Abnormal Realities, folks. I'm Ron Phillips. That's Rocky Stucci.
Ron.
What are you doing, dude? What's the deal?
Ron, folks, breaking news.
It's not breaking news. I mean,
it's breaking to me because I just saw it. Okay, you know what Ron does? Ron, give us a transition. Can you do anything? Do you got anything you can transition on to the home screen? Oh, no, you got to use your foot.
Oh, you're talking. Well, when
Ron has a new switchboard.
When
it's on the floor. He uses his feet to transition from us to the guest and the home screen.
When we bring Dr. Scott back in, I'll use it. How's that?
He uses. Do it.
All right, folks. Dr. Scott Taylor's with us tonight. He's host of the Afterlife Files. He's a near-death experience expert, and he joins us tonight on the show. Welcome back, Dr. Scott. How are you?
Oh. You did that so well with your feet. Well done.
I love technology.
I don't even understand why you're so excited about it.
Oh, I want one. I don't even have 2 cameras, but I want one.
But see, no, I mean, what Rocky's talking about is I can switch between Dr. Scott directly and then back to us without having to reach for things.
He's using his feet. Remember back in the old days, we used to have to use our feet to change the high beams in the trucks?
Yeah, the button on the bottom on the floorboard.
Yeah, the good old days, man, the good old days. All right,
Dr. Scott, you've got some stuff you want to finish talking about the...
a little bit of technology. There is a bit of technology that is in a near-death experience that we left with a tease.
Yes.
And it goes like this. So you're reliving your life, and you get to a scene that you're not particularly proud of. And that's why that divine being is with you. So you turn to the divine being and say, stop. I don't like what's happening here. Can I relive that scene and behave differently?
What?
And the divine being can do that.
What?
And so it's like this little rewind, complete with sound effects. And they'll start the scene again. And instead of being a jerk in this scene, you are compassionate and thoughtful and have lots of wisdom.
Okay, so basically it's a do-over. Does that count when you get to the pearly gates?
Yep. When you're
no.
Yep, you get to have a do-over.
All right, my question though is that, okay, if you go back to a specific time for the do-over, you're literally changing the history or the future of your life, and you could potentially not have the same family you have. So you're literally rewriting everything.
Yeah, but you're
correct.
Yeah.
I will take the pain of my sins and ask for forgiveness at the gate.
Hey, man, maybe.
I don't want to rewrite anything.
It's not as definitive as that, because what it does is it sets up another timeline.
Oh.
Yes.
And so you
That
get to
makes
have
sense.
your timeline just as you like, but on another timeline where you're the nice guy there at that intersection,
So you
there's
see the
another
results.
one that's set up for you.
How many timelines can you have?
Infinite numbers of timelines. We all do.
It would be like
So,
gambling.
now here's the cool part is that scene where you become nice instead of being a jerk, that enters into human history. So, all of us are connected, and we have a common collective consciousness that is the sum total of all of our experiences. Ron and Rocky and me and Sally and Fred and Amy and whatever, we all contribute to this vast database of human experience. And when we do those do-overs, those are added too. So it's a wonderful opportunity to, you can address your karma, and deal with it right then. You don't have to come back to the physical world.
Can you break generational trauma? Can you break that through transition to a new life? Okay, so when
Sure.
I suppose, if you're talking to the divine, anything's up for negotiation.
That's what
Everything's
it sounds
up for negotiation. Yeah, you just say to that divine being, I would like, say there's some generational trauma. Pick something nasty, incest or whatever.
I want it gone.
That has happened over 4 or 5 generations.
Yeah.
You can say, okay, divine being, I would like to break that pattern and live my life in a way that wasn't an issue. And so you talk about it and you do it, and then maybe you do it and that didn't turn out. Maybe I want to try it a different way. You get lots of do-overs, not one.
I wonder what number. I wonder what number I'm on right now.
64.
At least, brother. At least. I got a lot of redos.
Or 42, I should say. If I remember the
That's right.
magic number from something at the end of the galaxy.
Sometimes I just make spontaneous decisions and things just don't work out right.
That's true.
It's okay.
It's okay.
And by the way, I'm going to go back to what you were saying, Rocky. I've had lots of people come up to me after I give presentations or workshops, and they would say something exactly like you said. Oh, I would just love to have that experience that you had. And you're going, no,
Right.
no, you don't, because that means that your physical body was so traumatized and injured that it will take you years to recover from it.
Yeah, I'll be like, I can arrange it. I'm like, give me that hammer. Okay, close your eyes for about 3 seconds. You're going.
Click.
Or
There's
what
no
happened
place
to
like
me,
home. There's no place like home.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
If you've had guests on that talked about their near-death experience, that means they probably were in some sort of accident, maybe, where they lost loved ones.
Or froze to death.
Froze to death on the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Peter Panagore.
Yeah.
Famous story.
But brother, I got to tell you,
It's a
you know,
fantastic
it
story.
is because, you know, in our world, in our physical world, I mean, our spirits are broken. We are a broken culture. We have been for many, many years. I'm not saying this is nothing current. This is thousands of years. Humans are a unique species. I don't know. I don't even know where I was going again. That's number 2 in the show.
Wow, dude.
That's number 2. Because
And
it had to do with behavior, though. It had to be about producing a better energy. But we live in a culture of this savagery, right?
Yep.
So when we hear somebody come on a show and they can take us into this euphoria of this journey of us releasing all this pain and burden we carry with us in our everyday life. I mean, I have a bunch of employees and they're losing sleep just trying to figure out how they're going to get to work. That's how broken we are. You know what I mean? And so when you sit here and listen to a show and you listen to somebody explain it, especially somebody with real passion, you know that they really experienced it by the tone of their voice. And it takes you somewhere, and it's like, I want to escape. That's where I want to be. I don't want to feel pain no more. I don't want to feel sadness no more. I don't want to question why things happen. I want it all to go away, you know? So sometimes it's welcoming to hear that experience, but not so much where I say, hey, Ron, can you hit me in the head with the bat and just make sure I wake up in about 5 minutes, you know?
Well, that's the wonderful thing that we have discovered over time is that people who have go into near-death experiences, they enter into these different vibratory states, and we can do that now through meditation and using technology like binaural beats.
Yep.
They are really effective at raising up both our physical and our non-physical bodies' vibratory levels so that we can match the vibration of the life review. And once you're in that, you can just go have one. You know, call on the divine being and say, let's do one today. How we're doing it right now.
No,
you know, why not?
I know the direction of this.
Place that's really peaceful and
see, I want that.
how do you get forgiveness?
I want that, he says.
When you talk about the vibrational state, that's to me an essential part of life of understanding. I wish our grade schools taught this, right? But explain to people the benefits of when you are dialed in and you can keep your vibratory state high. What are the physical benefits to the body when you can keep a higher vibration?
Oh, physically. Well, one of the things that you can do is to be able to assess what's going on with your physical body. So there's a whole raft of techniques that you can use to take and get guidance from your physical body, because it will talk to you and say, you know, I'm feeling this pain in my shoulder over here. You got to work on that. Or I've got some sort of an infection down here, or, you know, my knee isn't. And anyway, so it can identify those areas that aren't working very well, and then we can call in the healing energy and fix it, and you know, release the tension or change the vibration so it's not in a state of dis-ease. It's in a state of active, healthy vibration.
You know, I see a lot of these sports doctors now, they're trying different types of practices instead of the old way of cutting somebody up and sewing it together. They're using like different types of frequencies. I don't know if frequency is the right word, but they are using
there's sound techniques that enhance the speed of which healing happens.
Correct. Yep.
And you know, and that's just at a really gross level. That's on a physical level, using sound that's, you know, that we can hear and feel.
Right.
And then there's all of those vibrations that are above that add additional healing qualities.
So if we can inject that into a local area and we can expedite the healing of that local area, imagine if you could dial that in on your whole body and the healing effects it would have on your physical self.
Yeah.
And recovery and mental stability, right? Because you're at a way higher frequency or a way higher vibrational rate. So,
yep, there's been any number of experiments about where a group of people as small as 20 into thousands and tens of thousands, concentrate on sending healing vibrations to a particular city, and watch what happens with, say, crime rates over the period of time that they were sending this healing energy, and afterwards, kind of the tail effect. It is now absolutely rock solid science that doing those forms of meditation where you send that healing energy, say, to Minneapolis at the time of George Floyd's death,
Yep.
really makes a difference in the community and what it experiences. So
You know, when I say
nailed
that,
down now.
right,
Yeah.
when I say that they would teach this to kindergartners, first graders, second graders, and understanding that effect, I think that could possibly change people's character, their level of aggression. I honestly, Scott, I don't have nothing to support what I'm going to say, but I think because the Japanese culture does it, they make those kids plant their own food, crop their own food, cut their own food, cook their own food, and understand every nutrient and every benefit of that nutrient to the human body, right? And then they do the meditation. Yep. They do eyes. They do soul. They do. It changes the character of a society in a way to where I think it could create more of a acceptance, because we don't have acceptance right now.
Right.
You know.
So for your listeners who may not know about Stefan Schwartz, here's a guy who's, I don't know, he's 80 years old or something now, and he's devoted his entire life to studying how do we make changes in culture based on the decisions we have, and how can we send healing energy into XYZ in order to make a change, and how do you do that individually? So look up his work.
That's
Stefan
profound.
Schwartz. That's a place to go.
Wow. Interesting.
Why don't you real quick look through and see if there are any questions on the chat, because I want to ask him that question I had.
Go for it.
So Dr. Scott, before or in the first segment, you talked about your shared death experience. And if I remember correctly, was it you that were sitting on the windowsill?
Yeah. Do you want me to give you kind of a quick
Yeah,
overview?
because my question, I mean, and you can answer it this through that. My question is, what happened to your physical body when you were sharing the NDE?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so this happened because I was in love with a woman. Her name was Mary Frances. She and her son Nolan were in a car accident. Mary Fran was killed outright, and Nolan had a severe head wound. We had the best care possible because we were in southern Minnesota, and Nolan got taken to the Mayo Clinic. And there, it took him 6 days to make his transition. And so this rather large family had a chance to gather.
Right.
And when it came time for Nolan to make his transition, we all filed into the hospital room. And as it turns out, I'm at the end of the line of, say, 40 or 50 people. When I get into the hospital room, it's already 6 deep, so around the bed. So I wind up sitting on the windowsill next to Mary Fran's brother Willie. Then, you just wait, and eventually the heart monitor goes flat. And when that happened, what I experienced was Mary Fran coming across the veil and scooping her son out of his physical body, and they had this exquisite reunion, as you can only imagine, between a mother and a child. And somehow I got to participate in that. I got to feel what they were feeling. And then, to my surprise, what happened was that they turned to me, came over to me, embraced me, and then the three of us went into the light. And when I was in the light, it was really, it's just so wonderful. It was love. It was reunion. It was unconditional acceptance, just beyond words. And we had time to affirm our affection for one another. We had time to say our goodbyes. and we had time just to be with one another. And then when that ended, it just felt complete. And then the two of them turned and went into the light. I then left and came back to my physical body, which was on the windowsill. Now,
I started to say, was there a sense of time there?
no.
No. Okay.
It just, my guess is that it was something like 5 to 10 minutes ish.
Okay.
But that timeline is a whole lot different than what was happening in the physical.
Right.
So, which time are we talking about? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was part A of the story. Part B of the story is that I'm up in the non-physical world, in the light, having my conversations with Mary Fran and Nolan, but I am also in my physical body, sitting on the windowsill, and I am perfectly conscious. I am in the room with all the relatives. I didn't have a word for it then. Today, I would call it bilocation. I had two distinctly separate consciousnesses that were working. And I know this because in my physical body, I was feeling all of this love, this joy, this ecstasy, and it's trying to break out of me. And if anybody had looked at my face, they would have seen this expression of a rapture.
Wow.
And they would have completely misunderstood what was going on.
Right.
So I took and covered my face with my hands, and I just remained like that until my other body that was in the light came back, and we rejoined back up again, and then I could regain my composure.
Wow.
And then
amazing,
be with the other grieving relatives in the room and hug each other, because
Did you
it was
mention
incredibly sad.
Did you mention that to anybody in the room?
No way.
Yeah.
No, well,
Right.
I'm 27 years old.
Yep.
I grew up in the Presbyterian church, and none of that is in the lexicon of that religion.
Sure.
It was
the demon.
I didn't have any words for it. It was so outside of my experience, I didn't know what to do with it. Well, it turns out that 15 years later, when I'm doing my research on near-death experiences, I interviewed one of the other members that was around the bed, and they had exactly the same experience as me.
Wow.
And when I'm interviewing, I have it on tape, as a matter of fact, and it was a sister, and she said what she experienced was when Nolan flatlined, Mary Fran came across the veil, scooped Nolan up out of his physical body. They had this exquisite reunion, which she was able to participate in. And the two of them turned to her, and the three of them went to the light.
That is a trip.
The exact same words that I used. So if I had any reservations about whether or not this was real, it ended right there.
Brother, I would have been floored hearing somebody say the identical same experience. I would have been floored to hear it.
What is astounding to me is that these occurred simultaneously.
They occurred simultaneously. Yeah.
Wow.
And so here's tricky. So when the three of us went to the light, I didn't see a fourth person. That would have been the sister, or there were two separate events, which I now think is probably the case, that they were having an event with the sister and they were having an event with me, and they had split.
Right.
So that, this whole multi-dimensional thing gets kind of confusing now.
It's so intensely deep, though. But, brother, we have about 4 minutes left. I do have a question. For one, before anything, any kind of experience like that is horrifying. We're sorry for your loss of losing somebody like that you loved. And to share your experience and to be able to take that journey and closure to me is a very important thing. And we have an entire population of people that will go their whole life because they didn't get closure in some situation and some death. with your experiences and your knowledge and your expertise and your understanding of spirit, physical, and everything in between, what would you say, what would you recommend to people right now that are lost or part of their soul is detached because they never had the opportunity to give closure? What kind of reassurance is there just to give them hope and confidence that the day will come where you'll be able to express your love again?
100%. Because when we leave our physical bodies for the last time, we enter into the non-physical world, and all of our loved ones are there, and we get to experience them at a soul level as well as at a personality level. Because some personalities, let's face it, they were a little difficult here in the physical world.
Sure.
And so to reach closure is really about understanding who they are on a soul level, minus, all of that particular personality that was associated with that particular person in this life. Because, we've all lived tens, hundreds, thousands of lives. And what's important is the growth of the soul. That is the common theme between all of them. It's not about, was Scott a good guy or a jerk in this particular world? I had things to learn in this world, but what about when I was a Roman soldier? And what about it when I was on a slave ship? And what about it when I was tending rice in, Malaysia? All those different lives, the personalities drop away, and what you get to experience is that loving being that is, who we are outside of the physical world.
And no matter how many times you change physically or how many lives you live, your soul at a core is the same. Is that correct? Somewhat accurate? It's the same through the transition and the journey, right? We have with different experiences. So that soul energy is it evolving through the process? I don't know if evolving is a good word.
It's growing.
Okay.
And it's contributing to that the whole of human experience, as we talked about before, and so that part of us that's connected to the whole, we get to share in that growth, and then there's that part of us that is our essential soul level. So, and we all grow up at the same time, and then we need to talk about time, because all time is one. And
so Scott, listen, we got about 30, 45 seconds. Real quick, talk about your albums, your website, where people can find more about it and read about you.
Oh, thanks, Ron. This is neardeathmeditations.com is the place to go, because there we have the guided meditation albums that you find behind me, best-selling. They've done really, really well. There you also find out about our retreats, our workshops, and the podcast, the Afterlife Files, that is featured here on the Odyssey Network. So that's the place to go. NearDeathMeditations.com.
Fantastic. Dr. Scott Taylor, folks, you can find him on Odyssey Radio at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. Dr. Scott Taylor, thanks for joining us. Stick around. We're going to come right back to you as soon as we get finished with the show.
Thank you, Scott. My favorite kind of shows.
God, I love that information.
My favorite kind of shows, because the one thing every human being ponders on this planet is what we just talked about tonight.
No kidding. No kidding. It's intriguing.
Man, that was a quick hour, Phillips. I love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Love you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Except you two in the back.
Every Thursday night. We appreciate it very much. AbnormalRealities.com, RomikaDesigns.com, InsaneTumblers.com. Go, please, search, see if there's anything there that'll help you.
I love you.
We love you guys. We'll see you next week.